Oh man, I messed up. Hopefully they're going to probably go on for another. I probably should have waited till 11. Well, that's okay. You make mistakes. There's nothing I can't I guess I could stop everything now, but I'm already sitting here. I'm already ready. So I'm just going to go ahead. Yeah, I forgot. Once once Bob Jones is broadcasting, you're kind of done. Like um because they take over. Look, if you look, hang on. Give me a second here. Let me do this. Once Bob. Okay, I got. Give me 1 second. Yeah, once Bob Jones University is broadcasting, if you go to the Sermon Audio website, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to the Sermon Audio website, click on the Home tab, and look at that. The entire top part of that is all Bob Jones University. You open it up, I mean, it dominates. So anybody else webcasting, it's going to be very difficult to see. Okay, good. Oh, they're done. Okay, good. I'm going to wait until they go off the air. I'm going to wait until they go off the air, and then I'll start my broadcast. Yeah, I try not to broadcast when they're broadcasting because there's no real reason. I mean, they don't. I mean, they get the top billing, so I mean, nobody else is going to be able to compete with that. So you just as well let them do their thing. So Bob Jones University is about to be done. Yep, I think that's it. Hang on, let me do a refresh. Oh wait, okay, not yet, not yet. They're still live. We'll give it a second here. Cleveland Baptist Church just started, I think. Oh no, they've been going on for 34 minutes. They got buried too by Bob Jones University. I'm gonna do a refresh. I'm waiting for the Bob Jones to disappear. There we go. It's gone. All right. Yeah, I hate that. Oh, it is frustrating. I guess you could have different opinions. Obviously, Bob Jones University and Sermon Audio have a strong working relationship. So it makes sense that they're going to get the top billing. But if you're trying to broadcast, your broadcast gets buried underneath it. Now, I understand you don't have as a broadcaster, you don't have a working relationship with Sermon Audio like Bob Jones University does, but you're still paying your $60 a month and you kind of get buried underneath it. So I understand, but yeah, I put it this way. It's whenever Bob Jones is broadcasting, if you're trying to get people to listen to your live stream, it's probably best you just wait until they're done, so that you have a greater chance of people discovering your live stream. I mean, that's just good strategy. Now we can now see how many broadcasts. Oh, there's a couple. I didn't even know all these other ones were going on. Yeah, there's 3 others currently underway. There's 3 others. So yeah, I'm going to listen to us. Now, there we go. All right. So yeah, I'm not saying that in a complaining way. I don't want anyone to take that I'm taking in a complaining way. It's just the reality. The Bob Jones University is going to get the top billing when they broadcast. So if you're a broadcaster, don't broadcast when they're broadcasting, because when you open up the homepage, that's what you're going to see. I mean, the video just starts. It's right there. So anybody else is going to, most likely if people tune in and look at the numbers Bob Jones University gets, it's going to be far greater than anybody else. 1, name recognition, and 2, prominence on the Sermon Audio platform. All right. So, all right. I think we're good to go. Give me 1 second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. I think this should be hopefully beneficial. I'm going to time. Well, I'll have the time here in a minute. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further delay, we go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Looking at our world from a theological perspective, this is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, October the 8th, 2025. It is currently 10:38 a.m. Central Time, and I'm coming to you live from the Theology Central studio located right here in Abilene, Texas. Well, it is time for another issue, another episode of the Sermon Audio Daily. And the Sermon Audio Daily is all about helping you discover what's new, what's hidden, what's possibly worth hearing on the Sermon Audio platform. That includes the sermonaudio.com website and the Sermon Audio app, which if you've not downloaded, you should download the Sermon Audio app today. Look for Sermons by Sermon Audio in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Download the app. All right, go right now. Go download it. Okay, well, most likely if you're listening to me live, you've already downloaded it because you're either listening to me on the Sermon Audio app or you're listening to me on the Church One app, or, well, you could be listening to me at theologycentral.net. So maybe, but either way, download the app, all right? And make other people download the app. Just if you go to church, just walk around church and say, give me your phone. There you go. That's the Sermon Audio app. Use it. Just grab everyone's phone. Just use it. Go use it. All right. So go make everyone use it. All right. But today, for the Sermon Audio Daily, we're not going to look at something new, not a new series, not a new sermon. We're going to take a step back in time, a big step back in time. Okay. Well, not that big of a step. All right. It's not like we're going back to the 1400s or the 1300s or the 1500s or the 1600s. Today, we're going to take back we'll say a small step back in time. I think it's very important. Sermon Audio isn't only a platform for modern preaching, it's also a vast historical archive preserving voices and convictions from decades past. And I think that's an important thing. And I want you to remember that. Sermon Audio is not just a platform for modern day preaching, not just for modern day podcasts. It's a historical archive, and it preserves those voices. It preserves those convictions from the past. So in this episode, we're going to travel all the way back to the early 1950s. To the 1950s. Now, obviously, I wasn't alive in the 1950s. So I don't know what you know about the 1950s when it comes to, I'm not talking about popular culture in the 1950s. What do you know about the preaching of the 1950s? What was the concern of the church in the 1950s? How did they approach scripture? I mean, I know in some ways you're like, well, it wasn't that far back, but every kind of decade within the church, it has its own character, its own concerns, the way, what is going on at any given time. If you've been a Christian for a long enough time, just think back and consider the different things you have encountered in Christianity, how you have seen things happen. You've got your own story you can tell and what you have witnessed within Christianity during your lifetime. But what was going on in the 1950s? Well, we're going to travel back to the early 1950s, and we're going to hear the preaching of Dr. Bob Jones Sr., founder of Bob Jones University. Now, if you were just looking at the Sermon Audio app, if you were just looking at sermonaudio.com, what was broadcasting? It was at the top of the page. Bob Jones University chapel service. That's literally what was just on the Sermon Audio app. It takes top billing whenever they're broadcasting. That was Bob Jones University chapel service. Well, it's kind of interesting because we're about to travel back to the 1950s and we're going to listen to the preaching of Dr. Bob Jones Sr., founder of Bob Jones University, and we're going to listen to messages that were preached in chapel to the students. And as you listen today, because I know you're going to take this, suggestion and you're going to go find these sermons immediately, listening to them today feels like opening a time capsule of mid-20th century American fundamentalism. Fiery, moral, unapologetically direct. And this is what I would really recommend. These messages are not long. They're not long. There's going to be 3 of them. As you listen to these 3 messages from Dr. Bob Jones Sr., preached at chapel service at Bob Jones University in 1950 and 1951. What I want you to do is listen to them. And then, I don't know if you listen to Bob Jones University chapel service today, but I need you to go find either some of the most recent ones or wait till tomorrow. Start watching the chapel service as it airs today and compare and contrast what it sounds like today in chapel versus how it sounded in 1950 and 1951. Notice the difference. Notice the change, and then ask yourself why. Why does it sound so different today? And then you can ask yourself, how much does Christianity actually change based on what's going on in a particular time period? How does the era either impact Christianity, or is Christianity simply reacting to the times and the era? I mean, there's a lot there you could try to unpack, but do that. Please do that. Bob Jones University chapel service airs, I think, Monday through Friday on the Sermon Audio platform whenever the school's in session. And you can watch it live or you can catch it on demand. And you should check out the current chapel service and compare it to these three messages that I'm about to give to you from 1950 and 1951. And remember, it's going, when you listen to these messages from 1950 and 1951, it's going to be like opening a time capsule of mid-20th century American fundamentalism. I think it's going to be fair to say it's going to be fiery, it's going to be moral, it's going to be unapologetically direct. So, are you ready to take a trip back to 1950 and 1951? Are you ready? Are we in our DeLorean? We hit 88 miles an hour because in the first Back to the Future, didn't he go back to the 1950s? I believe he did. So we have to be in a DeLorean today. Speaking of DeLoreans, just a side note, you don't care. When I was in high school, one of my friends, he had a DeLorean. He had one. It was really cool. So I loved. Well, I didn't hang out with him all the time, but being able to ride in a DeLorean was pretty cool because especially Back to the Future was a big deal. So it was really cool. All right. So yeah, obviously he came from money and I didn't, but I was cool to ride in his car. All right. So here's what I know that's neither here nor there, but you ever talk about going back to the 1950s, it's hard not to think of the movie Back to the Future. All right. But I want to highlight 3 sermons from the 1950s. I want to highlight 3 sermons from the 1950s. Each one, I believe, captures kind of a different side of Bob Jones Sr.'s preaching. Now, whether you agree or disagree, whether you agree with everything Bob Jones Sr. thought or even everything Bob Jones University did or did not do, that's irrelevant because this is just about going back and hearing and trying to get a sense of what was going on in the 1950s. And you cannot obviously downplay the significance and the impact of Bob Jones Sr. and Bob Jones University on American fundamentalism. I mean, can you deny its influence? I don't think you can. So here are the 3 sermons. Are you ready? 3 sermons, right? The first one comes to us from Bob Jones University Chapel Service, December the 20th, 1950. December the 20th, 1950, it is entitled, How to Live in This World. How to Live in This World, Dr. Bob Jones Sr. All right, you can probably just do a search for it on the Sermon Audio app if you want to. How to Live in This World, Dr. Bob Jones Sr., December the 20th, 1950. The text is Ephesians chapter 1, verse 1, and Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. This one is probably the longest of the 3. This one is about 42 minutes long. Now, in the message, Dr. Jones explains that while salvation happens instantly, learning how to live the Christian life takes a lifetime. So he's going to tell students that much of Scripture isn't about how to get saved, but how to live as saved people in a sinful world. Now, right there just tells, I'm going to start analyzing, and I'm not supposed to do that. So yeah, for the Sermon Audio Daily, I'm just supposed to tell you about it. So it's going to be about how to live in this world. How to live in this world. And you can hear what a pastor in or Dr. Bob Jones Sr. in 1950, what he thought Christians needed to do to live in the world of 1950, getting ready to go into 1951. All right, you can hear, and you'll hear what maybe his concerns were, should be interesting. And then if you can compare it and contrast it to Bob Jones University chapel service in 2025, I bet you they're still trying to tell students how to live in the world. Have they changed their way of telling people how to live in the world? You can go listen and see if the strategy is the same, if the strategy has changed. But there you go. There's the first one. The second one, red-blooded preaching. Red-blooded preaching. This jumps to October the 5th, 1951. Okay, the first one is December of 1950, December the 20th, 1950, almost the end of 1950. And the next one jumps all the way, almost a year, October the 5th, 1951, red-blooded preaching. This one is from Jeremiah chapter 9, okay? That's going to be something to consider. Its length is only 23 minutes. Now, some may feel this sermon catches Bob Jones Sr. I think clearly it's a fiery side of Dr. Bob Jones Sr. He begins to lament what he calls anemic preaching, and he pleads for men who will preach with red blood in their veins. He's going to contrast the soft, polite preaching of his day, the soft, polite preaching of 1951, with the fearless boldness of older evangelists like Sam Jones and D.L. Moody. So you're going to hear him, you're going to hear Dr. Bob Jones Sr. talking to students at Bob Jones University, and he's bothered by the preaching of 1951. Just kind of interesting, all right? But you can go listen to that one. The third one is the spirit of the Antichrist. This is November the 5th, 1951. The text is Revelation chapter 13, and it's about 30-something minutes long, 37 minutes long, something along those lines, all right? Here, Jones turns prophetic, and I don't know. You can listen. Does he get a little political here? You can listen for yourself, all right? Maybe it's a little bit of an apocalyptic preaching wrapped in American individualism. Maybe it's kind of a snapshot of how fundamentalists of that era saw and encroaching dangers of modern life. You can hear it for yourself. So the three sermons these are all from Dr. Bob Jones Sr. The first one, How to Live in This World, December the 20th, 1950. The second one is Red-Blooded Preaching, October the 5th, 1951. And the third one is entitled The Spirit of the Antichrist, November the 5th, 1951. All right. And I was going to give you more to do, but there you go. Those are the three messages. Look them up. And of course, they will be included in the show notes. Now, listening to these messages, hopefully you'll listen to them today, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. I think it's going to feel like you're standing in two centuries at one time, right? The biblical language will feel somewhat timeless, somewhat familiar, but at the same time, I think the concerns are distinctly 1950s. I think we're going to hear maybe a little bit of post-war anxiety, the cultural confidence, the moral seriousness. I think that ultimately shaped a whole generation of American Christianity. You're going to hear, 1950, 1951, does this preaching from Dr. Bob Jones Sr., what he was trying to tell those students at chapel at Bob Jones University, was that the way that kind of shaped Christianity for the 50s? Maybe going into the early 60s? You can draw your own determination and your own conclusion. And I think it's very important to note that one of the remarkable things about sermon audio, I really want you to get this. One of the remarkable things about sermon audio is that you can move from a sermon posted just an hour ago. You can literally be watching a sermon being preached in real time, and then just with one click, you can be listening or watching a sermon preached, who knows, 75 years ago, 50 years ago. There's an entire archive. So you can go from something being preached today to something being preached 75 years ago. And it's all just one click away, and it's free for you, the user. These old recordings that you can find on sermon audio, they're not just historical curiosities. I think they help us understand how preaching, how culture, how convictions have changed. And maybe they show us in some ways how they haven't changed. Sermon audio allows us to experience that history firsthand, not as something kind of abstract, but as the living voice of the past speaking to you again, right there on your phone, right there as you drive. Now, you're going to find all of these messages in the show notes. And if you've never explored the older material on sermon audio, I think this is a good place to start. These recordings are not just nostalgia. I think they're insight. They kind of remind us of what was. They kind of remind us of what has changed. And especially for these sermons, I'm going to state it again, they give you a great opportunity to contrast something. You listen to these three, you're transported to Bob Jones University in 1950 and 1951. As soon as you're done, you can look up Bob Jones University on sermon audio and listen to the chapel service that was preached today, October the 8th, 2025. And you can contrast them. Not only it's interesting, I think it's greatly beneficial, right? So that's today's discovery on for the Sermon Audio Daily, on the Sermon Audio Daily. And we've taken a trip back to the 1950s. I hope you enjoy your time in the 1950s. I hope you take a lot of good notes, and I hope you contrast it with the preaching from the same school in 2025, and you can draw your own conclusions. All right? So go look these up. Again, they'll be in the show notes, and hopefully you will benefit greatly from it. Share them with others and have a good conversation about how preaching sounded in 1950 and 1951. All right? So until the next episode of the Sermon Audio Daily, well, I hope you have some good time listening, some happy listening. I don't know, is it always supposed to be happy listening? I just hope it's beneficial listening. God bless.